If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Fine. So thank you all. Thanks for registering for this this course. Myself, Akshay, I have around 16 years of experience in SAP, out of which from last 7 to 8 years, I was working on MDG, on product development side, on the implementation side as well. Okay, so that's a quick intro about me. So before starting the session, just wanted to check with you guys that so I hope all of them are from SAP background, or any one of you are from non-SAP background.
Yeah, I'm Sufyan. I have 6 years of experience in SAP ABAP HANA.
Okay, great. Okay, that is fine, absolutely. And anyone there from non-SAP background? I just wanted to especially check those guys who are actually from non-SAP background.
Hello.
Yep.
My name is Ibrahim. I'm FICO consultant. I have 11 years experience in FICO consultant.
Okay, nice. Okay. So let me just, okay. Fine. So I think I assume everyone from SAP background. Okay. So let's start with this MDG introduction. Okay. So in general, in SAP, when you are actually working on any transactional processes, so usually we create some master data. So when I say master data, it can be usually like material masters. Okay. So how do we create material master? Basically, we'll log into SAP system and we'll go to MM01 transaction and we create a material, or else we go to MM02 transaction, we change the material. If at all you wanted to display the material, we use MM03. Similarly, we have some transaction codes for mark for delete or to perform some bulk operations. So these are your SAP specific transaction codes. Okay. Now, so this is for material master. So material master is one of the important key master in general in SAP, which will be used across all processes, like it can be your sales process or purchasing or procurement process, or even in your finance process. So in all these processes, you need material master. Material should be available in SAP. Okay. Similarly, we also have something called business partners, customers, vendors, or suppliers. So these are the master data vendors or suppliers. So these are the master data that we usually create in SAP system. Like in terms of finance, we have something called like cost centers, profit centers, cost element, GL account, okay, company code. So likewise, we have some master data even in finance as well. Okay, so all these.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
How we can differentiate that it is master data and transaction data?
Yeah. So usually what happens is master data always we create it once and we use it multiple times, and we don't change the master data on a regular manner. That means I create a material called, let's say, for example, I'm creating a material called something like a laptop. Okay. So now I create this particular material and I will, this is my master data. Okay, I'll maintain all the properties for this particular laptop in my SAP system. I'll create this material using MM01. After that, I use this particular material, this laptop, for different sales orders. Multiple customers will come and they'll buy these ones, right? So I'll create some sales orders. Similarly, sometimes I need to procure these materials. So I'll create purchase orders. And even for the goods movement documents, or probably whatever your invoices. So all these, we call it as a transactional data, because the nature of your transactional data, the lifespan of your master transactional data is very short. You create a sales order. Once you create the invoice and the bill is paid, the billing is done, then that particular document is closed. But still you can use the same material for other sales processes or other purchase process. So we are creating once and we are using in multiple places in multiple transactional documents. And those transactional documents, the lifespan of those transactional documents are very short. So once you are it comes to the end state in the sense once the billing is done and goods got delivered, that particular document, the transactional activity is completed. Is that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much for explanation.
Okay. Similarly, what we do is we create a customer in the system. I create a customer, maybe let's say, for example, Walmart or maybe some HP. I create this particular customer in my system, and I will keep on doing some business with this particular customer. So the customer will get created in the system, and with all the bank data, address data, everything I'll be maintaining. And after that, what happens? I will do for years together some business with this particular customer. Okay, might be I'm creating some 1,000 of this customer keep on giving some orders to me, so I'll keep on fulfill his orders. Similarly, vendors also I'll procure the goods from this particular vendor. So all those, let's say this month I procure some 1,000 materials, maybe next month I'll procure some more, after that I'll procure some more. Okay, so those documents, the whatever that procurement related documents we are creating, that the lifespan is very short, but the vendor or customer data will be exist in my system. And I create a cost center. I'll assign a validity to this particular cost center. This cost center is valid for this 2022 whole year. So then you will be using this cost center in multiple invoices or multiple transactional documents. Okay. So likewise, master data, in short, master data we will create once and we will use in the lifespan of master data is long. Okay, compared to your transactional activities, and master data always will go very less changes, whereas your transactional documents keep on changing. Okay, fine. So now this is a very short, I mean, some of the examples for your master data. Okay, so likewise, these are the generally we use these particular master data in all of the SAP modules. Okay, but there might be some module specific master data might be there. Let's say, for example, if you're taking SAP PM module, plant maintenance module. In plant maintenance module, wherever this plant maintenance module is implemented, so there are certain master data we use in the plant maintenance, like equipments, functional locations, or is bombs, bill of materials. So these master data is very specific to plant maintenance module. So likewise, there are and different modules are there. In each module, you will have some different master data module specific, but these objects, whatever master data I actually mentioned over here, material master, business partners, customers, vendors, all these, some of the finance documents, these are general and most commonly used across all the modules. So that's why we usually, whenever there is a master data, so we use these material masters or business partners, these as an example for the master data. Okay, so now how we create this particular master data in SAP system. Okay, so this is my SAP system. I log into this system, and to create a material, the transaction code is MM01. So this is the transaction code. So now this is your material creation screen. So I'll provide some input over here and material type. Let's say, for example, I'm just giving one material type over here. When you hit enter, so all these are the different views for your material master. Under basic data, you will maintain some information, properties, and the sales. This material can be extended to multiple sales organizations. The same material can be extended to multiple purchasing organizations, multiple plants. So whatever the information that you wanted to maintain for this particular material, you can select it and click on OK. So provide the description, test material, then some properties, unit of measures, material group. Okay, now once I maintain some properties of this particular material in the system, what I will do is when I click on save button, so this particular material got created in the system. 2608 is my material number which got created in this particular system. Okay, so this is fine. But now what in MDG we do? Okay, basically MDG is Master Data Governance solution. So that is MDG. So master data governance. So using MDG also, you can create a master data. The way how I created a material just now, using MDG also, we create any master data in the sense like materials, business partners, or customers, vendors, finance objects. Okay, so all these master data we can create using MDG. But what is the difference? Creation of a material using MDG versus creation of a material using directly SAP transaction code. Okay, so now what happens is the way how I just showed you a simple material creation. So this is your, assume that this is your SAP system. Okay, so in this SAP system, I went to this MM01, I entered some attributes and I clicked on save button. When you click on save button, what happens? Automatically the data gets stored into your database. So there are certain group of tables are there for material master. Those tables like you can say Mara is one table, Marcy is another table, or else you have something called MBEW. So there are some bunch of tables are there which will store your material related information. So when I click on save button, automatically the material related information will be available. It gets stored into the respective table. Now, once the material is available in my database, and that means once the material got created, I can use this particular material for my transactional activities. That means I can use this material for sales order creation or purchase order creation, any goods or those which are the nothing but we usually call it as a transactional documents. So I can use for my transactional purposes. But now the challenge here is there is no actually governance process around this in your material creation process. Okay, so simple is, let's say for example, in any in your organization you wanted to go for a particular you wanted to travel from one place to another place for a business need. Okay, so usually what you do, you log into the system in your office travel portal. There you enter some data and click on submit button. Usually what happens, it goes to the manager for approval, and manager will review the data and he will actually provide his approval. Then it goes to finance department. Finance will validate all the cost centers, all the things are valid cost center or not. From the finance aspects, they will actually validate the data. And finally, the request will go to the travel department for your ticket booking and everything. That means there is a step-by-step process where multiple stakeholders or multiple parties involved in validating the data and approving your request. Otherwise, if I directly submit that request and if it goes to the travel department, so there is no proper actually governance, right? In the same way, here in this SAP, there is no way of, controlling that the material creation process. This is one drawback over here. Now, after that, let's say, for example, if someone wants to validate that who created this material, when he created, who modified this particular material. So there is no proper for auditing also, there is no proper what is it, the information or the facts or whatever that proofs are not available. Of course, there are some ways how we can get that one, but in general, there is no proper way of identifying all the changes done for this particular material till now. Okay, so this is again another aspect. Okay, and the third aspect and third and important aspect is, let's say for example, I'm creating a material. Okay, so assume that this is a requester who wants to create a material. It's a requester. Now this particular requester entered some data, and after that, the thing is that this actually this requester might be having only the basic information related to this particular material. He is not an expert to which plans this material to be extended, what finance related, accounting related information I need to maintain. Okay, so what we will do is usually, so if you assume that the governance means, what happens is the requester will responsible to maintain the basic attributes. And once he submits the request from his side, then it will go to, for example, planning department. And in the planning department, there might be some group of people, they are experts, and they know what planning parameters that they need to maintain for this particular material. Okay, and also once these people maintain all the relevant planning attributes. Then after that, it goes to, for example, maybe sales department. And sales department level also, there are some group of people are there who are experts. They know that this particular material can be extended to what are the different sales organizations, what are the tax data that we need to maintain. So all this will be maintained by the experts in this particular area. Similarly, it goes to finally to the finance department, who will maintain the accounting related information. Okay, and finally, I wanted to create this particular material at this particular point of time. So that means the governance is okay. So the governance process talks about there are multiple. In the previous example, when I create a material master, it's me directly. I log into the system and just entered the data and click on save, so that immediately it is available for transactional purposes. But instead of that one, what this governance principle says is that first you maintain, you give that whatever that kind of roles and responsibilities to distribute to the different teams, so that the respective team are responsible for maintaining the attributes for that particular material. Okay, so that the first point is that these people are experts in those areas, so they know what information they need to maintain. So your material will have the accurate information. Okay, similarly, your sales department and finance department will maintain the respective data. So I assume that at this particular process, I assume that the data is already maintained by the respective experts. So whatever the data that I have for my material master, that is a accurate and perfect latest and greatest information. That's how we actually, while creating your master data, because master data, we are creating it once and we are using multiple processes. So you need to ensure that your master data has the right properties, right attribution at master data level. Okay, so that means if you observe this process, there are multiple parties are involved in creation of your material, not one single person. So this we call it as another way of the governance process. Yeah, Rakesh, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, so Akshay, is it the same process in the normal ERP, like Material Master using the transaction MM01?
So in normal ERP process, that means the way how I'm creating the material using MM01. So this doesn't support this kind of process.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so
okay.
this if someone wants to create a material over here, material master, so that person is responsible for setting up for sales, finance, everything,
yes.
right over here.
Yes, he has to collect all the data from all different departments, and one single person has to maintain that information. After that also, we should have some kind of steward or someone should be there at the final level who can review the data and finally probably ensure that, okay, this is good to go and you have to create the, okay, you can create this particular material in the system. Okay, so this kind of workflow process doesn't support in your normal ERP side. If you are creating material, or if you are creating a customer or vendor or any master data, this doesn't support this kind of process I just explained. Okay, so what happens is,
to interrupt you, Akshay. Just now you said that, for example, material, vendor, and customer, if you want to combine and if you want to display, then we can create a custom report for that and we can display these things, right, together, all this together.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So that is, once you create the data, then you are displaying that information, right? So here in this process, what we are saying is, I don't wanted to create that, or the data material should not be available till this point.
Okay.
So till this particular point, the data should be available somewhere, not in my actual ECC. The respective
it is not physically available, but it is available somewhere. Yeah?
Somewhere it is available. Okay, so that means what we are saying is here. Let me summarize this one. Okay, so if you assume that this is your SAP system. Okay, now you have some kind of layer. I'll call it as my something called staging layer. Okay, so now I also have another bunch of SAP tables. This is what we call it as your actual material, the database tables, which stores your material data. Okay, So like your Mara table or whatever that the tables which actually get stored the data finally. Okay. Now, if I create a material using MM01 transaction, and once I hit the save button, the data comes and sits into directly into this one. Then there is no way, for example, after that, if a reviewer, someone looked at this data and hey, this data is wrong, or this material is already available with a different material number, so it's a duplicate one. That means by that time, by someone identifies this as a duplicate material that is no longer required, we already created that material in the system. Then again, you need to archive this material and it's a long process. But assume that if I have some process where I will actually create a material using not using MM01, assume that using MDG processes, if I create a material, okay, so this is my UI where I can create a material. Then what happens is that material related information will get stored into this particular temporary area. We call it as a staging area, staging or temporary database table. Okay, now on this staging record, I will take it for all the different processes, like different processes in the sense, like requester will create the data, he submits that one, it goes to, let's say, for example, finance department, then it goes to, let's say, procurement department, finally it goes to steward, and steward says that, okay, so this material is good to go. Then what happens, that is the time that the record that exists in my staging table, I will actually move it to my actual the SAP standard tables. So that means this whole process will run, your governance process always will run in your staging area, temporary area. And after all that reviews, all that validations, derivations, verifications, finally, if the record is good to go, then the steward can submit that request. And that is the time the data gets created into your this we call it as an active area. Active area is nothing but your SAP standard tables like Mara table, or else this is for material master, you have a bunch of tables, Mara, Marcy, then let's say, for example, MVK to store sales. This is for accounting information, MBW. Likewise, similarly in customer, you have something called LFA1 table, LFB1 table. These are the tables. So all these are already there in your as part of your SAP ERP package, which stores your master data. This data we call it as an active area. That means the data that is already available in my active area can be used for my transactional activities. So we are actually with MDG, what happens is, okay, as you asked the question earlier, right? We don't have this process in MM01 or something because there is no staging concept if you are creating any material master data using the SAP specific transaction codes. If I go to XK01 or VD01 or BUT or BP, these transaction codes, right? So whatever the way that I create a master data, that always gets stored into my active area. But with MDG, what SAP has done is, okay, the basic difference with MDG is, let's say, for example, this is my SAP system. So this is my SAP system, which has my ERP component in the sense like your the normal SAP with all your MM or logistics components are active. So that we call it as my ERP system. So here I have my active area. Active area nothing but all your master data tables will be available over here. Now, if I activate MDG on any existing SAP system, it's an add-on component. Okay, so if I activate my MDG add-on component on any SAP system, like you take one SAP system, you activate CRM component or SRM component, or else maybe IS industry specific solutions, article masters, or probably IS retail or IS utilities. So similar, likewise, SAP also one kind of add-on component. Okay, so you need to just activate the component in any SAP system so that MDG related functionalities will get activated. Once MDG related functionality will get activated, so the basic difference is MDG comes with its own staging area, temporary area. Okay, so all your master data changes will happen in this area. Only the finalized records will be moved to your underlying active area. So that means we have a clear-cut separation. we have a clear-cut separation where your changes are happening in a different layer, and the changes will be only the finalized changes will be moved to the actual active area, so that this can be used for my transactional activities. This is the major and basic difference, creation of a master data using MDG versus creation of a master data directly in my ERP. Yeah, any questions here?
Yeah, Akshay, when you say any SAP system, you mean that the core ERP system like
Exactly, that's true. That's true.
ECC or S4, right?
Yes, that's true. That's 100% true.
Not the C4 system or not Ariba or
No. When I say SAP system is your normal where logistics component got activated, and you also have something called ABAP stack.
Okay.
ABAP stack. Okay. In short, it can be your ECC or else your S4 system. You are right.
Okay, go.
Okay, so fine. So this is the basic difference. The basic difference comes is you have your separate staging area where all the changes can be done in the staging area, and then finally you can move the data to, once the data got finalized or approved, then the final record I will move it over here. So in this particular record, the record that existing in my staging area, right, we call it as an inactive record, and that particular on that inactive record itself, your finance team will further enrich your master data, and it goes to a procurement team, they further enrich your master data. That means they add more attributes. So likewise, respective teams or departments are responsible to maintain the respective views or attribution of that particular master data, and so that finally you will have some reviewer or steward who will review the data, and at any point of time in this particular kind of a workflow, your record can be rejected at any point of time. Let's say, for example, some department identified it, this record is not required. There is an already existing record is there in my ERP. So they can reject that record. So you can actually configure the workflows how you want. But the reason that SAP introduced this staging area concept is because this is my working record, and at the end of the process, the record can be either approved. If it gets approved, it will move to my underlying active area. It can be rejected also. If it gets rejected, there is no record will move to my active area, and that record will be, creation process will be terminated there itself.
Akshay, sorry to interrupt. Just one question.
Yeah.
Now you have this regarding the active area, right? I've seen in most of the project, like either the ECC or S4 as a separate box. And here we are talking about MDG has to sit on a ERP box, right?
Yeah, I understood your question. So there are two ways where how you can actually activate your MDG component. Whatever you are talking is an hub scenario, and hub scenario is there. Another one is co-deployment scenario is also there. Okay, so depends on the way how you are deploying or where you are activating your MDG component. Depends on that one. We call it as a hub or co-deployment. Okay, so we will discuss shortly that one as well. But okay, as of now, whether I use a separate system or I use an existing system, and the underlying thing is that prerequisite is you should have your underlying ERP or ECC package.
Yes. So the active area in a hub or this thing, which will become, so it is always the ERP on which MDG is sitting is the active area, or is it the other one is the active area?
Okay. So let me just draw this picture so that you will just, since you have this doubt, okay, we will discuss in detail about this process. Okay. So let me just draw this one. Let's say, for example, this is my co-deployment scenario. Okay, in co-deployment, what happens is this is my already existing SAP ECC system where I'm doing all my transactional activities. Okay, so that means this is my ECC or S4 layer. Okay, on this one I'm creating my master data in the same system. I'm also creating all my transactional activities. This is my system. Okay, so here also, because my prerequisite is already met over here, because this is an SAP existing system, here also I can activate my MDG component, and I'll create the master data here, and this data will be replicated to the underlying active area. So always active area is nothing but it's the terminology that in MDG we use. Active area is nothing but the SAP ERP tables only. Tables are nothing but your MARA, MARCI, MVK, MBW, LFA1, LFB1, BUT 000, all those whatever the tables are there, right, to store the master data. So that we call it as an active area. Why we are calling it as an active area? Without MDG, we have only one set of tables. Now with introduction of MDG, since we are calling this my inactive data, so always automatically the existing ERP, I'll call it as my active data, because the data that exists in my underlying ERP layer, that I will use it for my transactional purpose. If there is a record that is available in my ECC, I can use it for my transactional purpose. How the data comes to this particular active area, that is from my staging area. Okay, so that's why we just to differentiate two set of tables, we are calling this as an active area. Active area is nothing but it's a bunch of tables. Similarly, for inactive area means that staging tables that we have in MDG, we call it as an inactive area or staging tables. That's the only difference. Now, this is a one scenario. Other scenario is we also have something called hub scenario. So in this hub scenario, what I will do is whatever this particular one is there, right, where I'm using my transactional properties. So that I'll keep it as is. I'm not going to touch anything in this one. So let my ECC or S4 will be there with all the master data tables and transactional data tables. I don't touch anything over here, but instead of this one, what I will do is I'll introduce a brand new SAP system where I will have my SAP ERP or ECC similar to, this is a copy of this one only. Okay, I'll have this one. On top of this one, I'll actually activate my MDG, because now I have my ECC or S4 system. I can also activate MDG component on the second system. Now, this system I dedicatedly use for master data creation. I don't perform any, though it's an ECC layer, I don't perform any transactional activities over here. Transactional activities will be performed here only, not here. I will use this as just a master data creation. So you have your database over here. So we call this as my active area. The data gets created from here to here. And once the master data created here, ultimately I need this master data in my target system, that is this system. So I replicate the data to this particular system. So in this case, the MDG box, though we call it as a separate MDG box, the underlying prerequisite should be, it should have your ECC or S4 as a component existing. On top of that one, I can activate my MDG component. So these are the two concepts that we have. We will discuss what is the pros and cons in each of the approach, which is the best option. All those things we will discuss.
So both will be, so here the active area is the yellow shaded one will become the active area, or both?
This one also we call it as an active area only. Wherever you have your SAP ECC component and the tables. Here I have SAP ECC component. I call this my active area. This also I call it as my active area, because in both these boxes, right, or layers, you have your MARA tables or MARCI tables or LFA1L, all the master data tables. That's why I said it's a copy of this one only, the ERP copy only.
Yeah. But transactional purpose, I will use the other one.
Separate system. I'll separate out my transactional system. I don't want it to touch this system with MDG components. I'll keep it as a separate box.
Perfect. I don't know is the right time to ask. Usually the customization of these screens are done in the core ERP, right? So do we have to
that synchronization of your config data, we will talk in this concept when we are talking about this one. We'll come back to this.
Perfect.
Okay, fine. Anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a small doubt. Just now in SAP ECC, we are creating the from MARA. Just now you are given the example, the MARA FI customer vendor. So in the same, like in MDG also, we will follow the same steps. Then when we activate, then it will replicate.
Yes.
The person who's from the technical side, like I'm from the technical side, then I don't have any good idea about the FI, MM in details. So I need to know about all this functional area like SD, MM, FI.
Not required. Not at all. Not required. See, so there are two aspects over here. Okay. So one is for that. First and foremost is that the way that how you are creating your master data using the respective transaction codes, like using MM01, or else if at all I wanted to create a BP, I'll go to the T code is BP. So I'll go to BP business partner. Here I can create a business partner. If at all I wanted to create a vendor or supplier, the transaction code is XK01. I'll go to here and I'll just create that XK01. Okay, so whether it's a person or first if you select this, it's actually the vendor creation screen only. Okay, so likewise you have respect to transaction codes. So being a technical person, you whatever you know, the little bit of information related functionally with these the ECC respect to transaction codes, that is enough. You don't need to know about all that the configurations, SPRO configurations, all that stuff is not required. Okay, for a technical folk. Anyway, for a functional folk, what happens is for them they already know what is the SPRO configuration and everything. Those configurations still remains true in MDG. Okay, so that means what I'm trying to say, let me just put it over here. As I said, this is
so
your
Akshay, just before that, the question over here is MDG is a techno-functional role, right? So being a MDG functional consultant, do I require to have the knowledge of these core solutions like SD or FIMM?
Yeah, I'll shortly come back to let me explain this concept, then I'll take that question. Okay.
Hi Akshay, Anupama here.
Yeah.
Okay, regarding the same thing, okay, you are saying regarding the SPRO configuration, correct? So what happens in the code deployed, it will retrieve the same backend SPRO configuration what has been done for S4 to the MDG as well, since it will be a code deployed, correct?
That's true. That's true.
Okay. What happens with the hub deployment?
I'll come back to that also.
Okay.
Let me just
Okay,
explain.
sorry. Yeah,
maybe some of your doubts will get clarified. No issues. That should be fine. Okay. So first thing is whether it's a hub scenario or co-deployment scenario, the prerequisite is you should have your ECC layer or S4 layer. On top of that one, I can activate my MDG component. This is an S4, it's a hub scenario or co-deployment scenario. Okay. In both, wherever your MDG component is, you are activating, that is in hub or co-deployment, you will have that ES4 or S4 layer or ECC layer under that one. Okay. So here, what happens? You will, since it's an your ERP system, you will have your SPRO configuration for material master or whatever that a business partner related or customer related or vendor related or finance object, cost center, profit center. So for all these master data related, SPRO configuration will be there in the underlying system. It should be there. It should be readily available, the SPRO configuration over here. Now what happens is in MDG, via MDG, if I'm creating a material master, my MDG layer, the reason that SAP made it as a prerequisite, this particular box, the reason SAP made it as a prerequisite, because always when you are creating any master data using MDG, first it will look into your underlying SPRO configuration only. So if you are creating material using MM01 or using MDG UI application, both will look into your underlying SPRO configuration. Accordingly, your MDG will react. That means if I'm creating a material using MM01 or using MDG application, both behave, it will behave in the same manner. It will look at the same configuration. It will, let's say if you're for a particular account group, you are configuring it as some of the attributes are mandatory. So that the same configuration or the same checks will be run when you are creating using MM01 or when you are creating using MDG. So the UI look and feel will be different. That is in this particular ERP layer, if I'm creating a material, this is what the SAP GUI transaction code UI. Whereas in MDG, if I'm creating a material, it's a web-based application. That is the only difference. Rest all remains same. The SPRO configuration, it will behave in the same manner. That's why always this is mandatory. If you are done your SPRO configuration properly, then you can actually create your master data using MDG layer. Okay, so this is the first point. Is this clear to everyone?
Is it the same for the S4 also? It is
Yes.
still the GUI based interface?
S4, you are talking about MM01 transaction?
Yes.
Yeah, in MM01, it's a GUI based transactions only, even in S4. This is an S4 system only. Whatever the system that I'm showing, this is an S4 system. So you have this GUI based transactions only. Okay. So now coming
So
back.
this SPRO configuration will be basically done by the function, I mean the
Yes.
respective functional consultant, not from the MDG perspective,
Exactly.
right?
That's 100% true. So MM
So there
consultants
should be
are
a coordination between the MDG team and the functional team, right?
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. So now I'm coming back to that. You three of them are having the same doubt. Let's discuss what are the kind of roles that we'll have in MDG in general. Okay. So first one is SAP, MM, or SD, or let's say for example FI consultants. So these are the dedicated functional consultants that we will have. Okay, so these consultants are responsible to for doing all that your SPRO configurations related to material master, related to sales, related whatever the customer, vendor, business partner, account group configurations, the CVA configurations. If from finance side, creating all those company codes, cost centers, or whatever the relevant configuration. So this is one set of role that in any MDG project we need. Okay, so these are the core functional consultants. Now we will have something called SAP MDG technical consultants. So technical consultants. So this particular technical consultant are mandatory for any MDG project. So they are usually from ABAP background. On top of ABAP background, these technical consultants should aware of MDG framework. MDG frame, what are the baddies are there, how to extend the standard MDG UI applications. So how I can write some derivations, validations. So these are the core MDG technical consultants. So when I say who will be called as MDG technical consultant, any ABAPer with MDG framework knowledge can become a MDG technical consultant, because we use object-oriented programming, we use the normal regular ABAP programming concepts, everything we use. So ABAP with MDG technical consultant can become MDG technical consultant with MDG framework knowledge. So these two roles are mandatory in any MDG project. Now in between you have something called MDG functional role. MDG functional role. Okay, so few people will call it as MDG functional consultant. Okay, so now there are three cases in this one. Who can become MDG functional consultant? Because this functional consultant of the configuration, so there is some small set of configuration is there for MDG functional. Okay, so that particular who will do that configurations? First scenario is either you can have a dedicated MDG functional consultant, who actually not aware of ABAP, but they can know all the MDG configurations. This is one scenario. The second scenario is these functional consultants are there, right? So these consultants can learn this particular topic. Okay, because you are already doing in MDG, maybe 80% of the SPRO configuration you are doing. The 20% of the stuff, this functional consultant can learn MDG and they can do these particular activities. So core.
1 second, this 80% is by functional consultant now, and only 20% by MDG?
No, here what I'm saying is assume that in any MDG project, you have to do some SPRO configuration, right? So that is okay. So that SPRO configuration in the total MDG project, what of the percentage what I'm dividing is 80% you will do all the required configurations in SPRO, and the remaining 20% you can learn this functional consultant learn, and they can do that the MDG specific configurations.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, these dedicated persons, if at all I have to divide that scope, they will have only 20%. The major work will be these MM or SD or FI consultants work only. So that's why anyway they already know the 80%. Learning that MDG functional concepts and doing this the remaining 20 also is not a big deal. That is what my experience.
Because most of the project I face is we have a dedicated core functionals and MDG functional separate teams are there.
That's true. That's true. That is actually if the project can afford that one, right? That kind of
big ones here.
That one. So then you can, if you have that much of luxury, you can have a core functional consultant, MDG consultant, and technical consultant. 3 set of users or dev teams can be there.
Yeah.
But some projects, what happens is if they don't have that much of budget, they can actually utilize that MM consultants or the core functional consultants and only the technical, only these 2 parts. That's why in that scenario, I'm talking about these 2 and 3 parts. Okay, so core can become core functional knowledge plus MDG config. MDG config. Okay. The other option is these technical consultants also can do this activity. It's not a big thing. Once if you know the MDG concept, then this is not a big deal for MDG technical. So in some projects, what happens is the MDG technical person, okay, will do the ABAP coding plus the MDG functional MDG config as well. Config as well. So any of these 3 scenarios can be possible in the projects.
Got it.
Okay. See, the thing is that if I say I'm an MDG functional consultant, that means I'm talking about this particular person. Okay. Your scope is very limited. And the most of the scope will be either with the core functional or with the technical persons. So with this, only the MDG functional knowledge, it is very difficult to survive in the industries. Either you have to be on the core side or you have to be on the technical side, then you can manage.
But you can transition in either ways, right? Either if you are good in core knowledge, then you have 20%. But if you are going to be a MDG functional consultant over the experience, you will cover this 80%, right?
Exactly. So see, ultimately this MDG core functional will be either he might be if he is from some SAP background, then he will be either from technical or functional background only in general.
Yep.
Right. So in that case, for him, if he is from functional background, he might be expert in any of these areas, or else he might be expert in this one. But who we will find this core functional consultant is some of the people, they are new to SAP. They're already working on MDM. There is a MDM concept is also there, Master Data Management. MDM is altogether is a Master Data Solution System. It's a build on non-SAP. So what happened is SAP bought this particular MDM component. It's a non-SAP thing. And this MDM was there from long ago. I mean, many people are using this MDM for master data creation, but it is nothing to do with SAP. But what happened is SAP first bought this particular license for this MDM. I mean, license in the sense they bought that completely, they acquired that particular company, this product. And then they looked at all the core nice things of this MDM from the governance point of view, from the governance solution point of view, and they build on top of separately as a MDG solutions. Whatever the person MDM the guy is working, right, he can correlate most of the MDG stuff, but it's an SAP implementation side with SAP flavor, that is non-SAP flavor. That's the thing. Okay, so these MDM guys who are actually working on MDM projects these days, many people are actually going for the MDG solution, whoever is there on SAP. So they don't see much career in MDM. So, and they are new to SAP. So in that case, first they will actually learn MDG and they'll say, okay, we are MDG functional folks. But over a period, that MDG functional guy, either he has to get into the core functional side, he has to learn that 80% and he has to become a proper functional consultant, or else he has to become a technical consultant.
So this course, what will be covered, Akshay?
Yeah. So in this course, what we are covering is, in this particular entire MDG course, we are covering MDG completely functional, so that who are core functional consultant, they can get benefited, they can get that whatever the MDG thing is there. And also I will be covering this complete MDG technical as well. So both.
What happens if a resource? Okay, sorry, go ahead if you want to.
No, so I will be see from MDG point of view, I'll cover both functional and technical end to end. Okay, so the ABAPers can get benefit out of this one, Okay, and even the functional consultant can get benefit out of this MDG functional stuff. And even in the technical also, there are few of the things that a functional consultants can follow.
Okay. So when you say the MDG functional, you're talking about this 20% is the one which you're going to cover, right? Not the 80%, or is it both?
We are not going to cover, maybe as and when required, the base configuration that we'll be covering some basics, but we are not going to discuss in detail about what is the SPRO configuration related to MM or any of these things. So the expectation is this is not part of our course. Whatever is required from MDG point of view, if any of these kind of configurations are there, that I will be covering as part of this course.
Perfect. So which means that 20% with basics of the core functionality.
That's true. That's true. So when I say actually 20%, if you compare your core functionality with MDG functional, I'll say it's a 20%. Okay, but the workflows that I discussed, right? We have something called workflows and everything. So when I look at only the MDG point of view, how much percentage, if at all I have to differentiate between MDG technical versus MDG functional, between these two components, it will follow 70 or probably 60-40 ratio between these two things. That means what I'm trying to say here is, let me show you in a separate one. Okay. So
yeah, just to add on here, Akshay. Yeah. So what would be the benefit for a people like background from SAP NetWeaver, MDM, and the master data team?
Master data team means you are basically it is a MDM which we are talking.
Yeah, you are aware of it, right? We had earlier NetWeaver MDM where we had that console and all those
exactly
things.
That is what yeah, for them what is the benefit is, okay, so you have this MDG technical and MDG functional. Okay, so this functional this functional completely what that we are that they can get benefit out of this particular course. Only the ABAP related portion they may not be able to follow, only the ABAP for the some of that the technical concepts, but rest everything these functional consultants can follow. I mean, for an MDM person, he can get the complete this one.
Okay, up to a certain extent of at least like debugging and understanding on a high level of the technical perspective, that should be at least able to follow from the functional perspective.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I mean. They can follow.
Because
like,
see,
about
we cannot
tables.
see if okay, sorry, if any issue comes, okay. So what happens? It's like I cannot just go and ask technical guy, okay, I'm not finding anything, I need your support. At least I should be in a position like I can debug and try to understand where it has gone wrong, right? Yeah. Until as long as I have the authority to do it, okay. Even I'm not getting into the level of coding, at least in a debugging perspective.
Understood. So to answer your question, debugging is always the last option for us in any MDG project. Okay. Before debugging, you have different stages to troubleshoot the issue. When any
will that be also covered as part
exactly
of this?
Exactly. Okay. So I'll be covering all those different, what are the steps when let's say for example something got working, or maybe some request got or not approved, so you have
something like workflow issues.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are different layers are there. Let's say for example logs are there, or there are certain tables are there how you can go and check. There are some some apps SAP provided dedicatedly where you can look at those apps to see what went wrong, where it actually stuck. So all those things that you doesn't require any technical knowledge. Okay. So it's a step-by-step process. Usually in any MDG projects also what happens is when there is some production issue comes, first the functional consultant who will be actually looking at those the ticket or those issue, and he will try to apply all his concepts, the different ways how we can troubleshoot. Once he is not able to get anything, then that is the place, the last option where we actually involve the technical guy to do some debugging, to debugging. Okay. In this scenario also, I will be providing some hints. It's not necessary that you need to start debugging from scratch. There are certain hooks are there where you can put a breakpoint and you can debug from there.
Yeah.
So there are some techniques are there so that we can actually.
See, because I'm talking in a perspective of being the core MDG consultant. Okay, I don't want to be dependent of like MDG technical or a functional consultant. Okay, because what I understand from your previous slide of written is like only the minimal knowledge of transition is going to happen here. But See, if you think in a broader perspective, like when you have a, very big project of only having an MDG team, right? Then in that understanding, you need to know about it, right? It is not
That's
just
true.
20% of that is
That's
required.
that's what I'm saying. See, the 20% is if I compare that the volume that you are doing with the SPRO related, SPRO versus MDG functional. But when you are looking at within the MDG box, if at all I have to differentiate between technical versus functional, it's a 60 to, I will say 60 to 40, or even we can say 50 to 50 also. The reason why I'm saying is the most important point in MDG is importantly, it's a workflows. Okay. The governance means basically it's the workflows, how you are configuring. This is the core part of your MDG. Okay. And these workflows can be done by functional also. The way, if I start explaining, functionals can do on their own, they can configure their own workflows without writing single line of code.
Yeah, that's what it is, like covering the using the maximum of MDG application usage here rather than getting into the coding.
That's what. So when I say technical means, it is not about like how to write the code. Of course, I'll show some important classes, some important code snippets, that ways how we can write the baddies, enhancements, everything. Okay, that is from the technical side. But if you leave that the technical part, the workflows are there. There is something called replications are there, because MDG is dealing with multiple source and target systems, being your centralized master data system. How I need to, your MDG has to connect with the multiple systems in the landscape, right? So that we are dealing with a data replication framework, how you can replicate your master data to multiple systems. Okay, so all these are basically the core part of your MDG. That will be, you don't require any technical or ABAP knowledge as well. Some basic SAP concepts are more than enough to do all these workflows or all these ones. Okay, so we'll be covering up. Okay, when I say functional, that's why I'm saying within MDG, if you ask me to split that process, I would say 60-40 or 50-50 for technical and functional. But if at all I have to look a bigger picture in at the SAP system level, you will have the majority of the work is with SPRO configuration, then your MDG functional and MDG technical.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Akshay. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Just now you said the workflow. It is not a SAP workflow, right? Different, just like a normal flow.
Yeah,
right?
Good question. Actually, technically, if at all I have to say, in the backend, it's an SAP workflow. But when it comes to MDG, what SAP has done is they made it as a kind of generic solution. The backbone of your, we call it as a something like, let me explain. Okay, so you have your ABAP workflows.
Exactly. Yes.
ABAP workflows are there. Okay, so this is the backbone. Now, what SAP has done, they actually hide all the complexity of your workflow. Okay, and they come up with something called rule-based workflows. Okay, so it's a very customized one and a generic workflow that SAP has provided by developing out of this ABAP workflow. So as an MDG person, I always need to deal with these rule-based workflows, which is a kind of configuration. You no need to know this particular one. It's not required. If you know that is a well and good, even if you don't know also, you can actually configure your workflows using rule-based workflows, whether it's a sequential one-step approval process, two-step approval process, or n number of step approval process, sequential workflows, parallel workflows, auto approval workflows, everything can be configured over here using this one.
Is it the BRF?
Yeah, BRF, based on BRF applications. That's true. Okay, so if you know how to configure this as per my need, that is more than enough. That if you configure like that, the backend it works, it uses this ABAP workflows only. But as an MDG consultant, functional or technical, this is more than enough for us to know. This is you are not at all required. But if you know, usually for the technical folks, if they know about workflows, that will helpful for them to troubleshoot further. Okay.
Okay, I have a question on back to the system setup. You are talking about the ERP or S4, right? Now that S4, there is S4 cloud is there because it is moving more towards on the S4 cloud scenarios. So is MDG also in cloud, or it is still going to use the on-prem version?
It's both. Actually, it has both. On-prem is there and private clouds are there. Even cloud is also there.
Okay.
It's just like how your S4 in S4 system, you have your regular ERP concepts, right? If it is on cloud, you also have that cloud component as well. MDG works on cloud, on premise, on private clouds as well.
So if the customer is having S4 cloud, so and want to use the MDG, so where would I keep this MDG? Will it on-prem or should I?
Wherever your SAP S4 or ERP system is there, on the same system you will activate this component. That's on the same system you need to activate. If your S4 is on cloud, then on the cloud only you need to activate, because ultimately what happens is, let me show you. So this is my cloud system. Assume that I'm on cloud. This particular system is on cloud. Now I wanted to use my MDG functionality in the same system. Wherever you have your ERP or S4 layer, there you need to go to SFW5. There is a transaction code.
Switch framework.
Switch framework. So that's where I'll go to that switch framework. I'll activate MDG related components. That's it.
Okay. So, but the cloud GUI is cloud is not GUI based, right? It is purely Fury based UIs, right?
Even in Fury based also, even if it is a Fury based, in cloud system, if you are calling your MM01, that there will be a Fury tile that automatically actually calls your MM01 only in the backend.
Okay. Underlying is still calling the GUI. Okay.
Yes.
So you mean to say that whatever we do it on a regular one would be replicated in the cloud system, I mean clouds as well, right? I mean, for example, in the existing S4, if we are trying to do this MDG applications configurations, whatever we do, that same process would be carried out in the cloud as well.
Yep, that's true.
But will that configuration perspective be covered here as part of training and the Fury applications related to that, or the MDG Fury apps? So, Akshay?
Yes, we will be covering MDG Fury apps as well. There are different ways how we can actually create a master data in MDG. One is FPM based applications. Okay, so just a minute.
I'm sorry, just to ask, like I just joined. Till how long is the session now?
It will be actually 1.5 hours, so we'll have 25 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry if we are off tracking. Please let us know in case if we are off tracking.
No. All these, all these are valid questions. So you should get cleared with all these things. Then actually we can get into the actual MDG topic, the basics and everything. Okay. So in subsequent sessions. Okay. So we have some basics that to understand what is the MDG architecture and everything. Okay, so these are the complete topics that we have. Okay, so we, as part of MDG, will be covering first the architecture, the overview, the concepts of versus co-deployment was different things, and then after that we will get into the actual MDG topic. Before that, it is very important to understand and important to clarify all your doubts. Without clarifying all those things, if I directly start into MDG stuff, then I think you will still have some doubts in your mind, right? So I wanted to clarify all your doubts, and then we'll get into MDG.
So actually, your prime focus would be on the on-prem base, or is it common? You're talking like cloud also. You're talking about.
See, the prime focus will be on MDG. Okay, so these concepts, whether wherever I activate my MDG component, I can use all these MDG concepts. Whatever you can see the list here. This is the complete MDG topic course it covers. Okay. Now, if my system is there on cloud, then in cloud also you will have the same concepts. In on-premise also you will have the same concept. Your MDG doesn't change. In fact, the MDG that you already have in S4, right? So before that it is there on ECC. S4 is recently evolving, right? But before, from 2016 onwards, you have your MDG on ECC. Okay. From then till today, your MDG concepts are not changed. It's the same thing. Even if I would go to the older MDG 6 or 7 version also, the core concepts remain same. Okay, only over these years, SAP introduced some more actually advanced concepts, like you can see this data quality topic or consolidation processes, or else your Fury apps. All these are recently, these are the new features that MDG is adding in SAP is adding to the MDG. But the core concepts are these ones, whatever you can see. So these are all these core concepts are not changed till now from 2015 till today.
This you have mentioned MDC. There is one more component also they have brought in called MDI.
MDI, what is that for?
Yes, Master Data Integration. That is on the cloud perspective they have brought in. That's what I've seen in the architectural diagrams. Maybe you can just look into address.
Yeah, I can check that one. But usually, I mean, it's a probably from the cloud side integration point of view. Let me tell you that where you are coming. So in what are the different masters? Okay, let me first. Okay, so let's say, for example, using these MDG solutions, what are the out-of-box master data that you can govern? Okay, that is one is material master, business partner. When I say business partner, it includes customers plus vendors. All this is a one data set.
Okay.
Okay, then you have finance objects. Under finance objects, you have cost center, profit center, GL account. There are around 7 to 8 masters are there, cost elements, all these things are there under finance. Okay, now these are the out of box objects. When you get that MDG, when you activate your MDG, you get these masters. If there are some other masters are there, that is not covered as part of this MDG. But SAP come up with a kind of a framework called custom object framework. Custom object framework. That means these are readily you can start using, configure, and you can use it, and you can enhance as per your business needs. In addition to that one, in your organization, if customer says, the business says that, okay, in my organization, let's say, for example, plant is also a master data for me. So usually you create a plant using SPRO, but I wanted to use this plant creation also via governance process. Then you need to build, or this MDG framework supports developing your own master data as well. So let's say, for example, employee master is there. Employee master also I wanted to create via MDG processes. Then you can actually develop that under the custom object. So your MDG supports the standard out-of-box objects by enhancing as per the custom needs. Plus, it also provided a kind of a custom object framework where you can develop your own objects.
And this supports the BTP side-by-side extensions, right?
Yes. Okay. Now, using this custom object framework, there are some SAP partners are there. SAP partners, let's say, for example, there is a company called Ethiopia. Okay. So these are the SAP partners. They tied up with SAP, and what these people has done is, using this same custom object framework, they developed article master. They developed something called EAM objects. Article mastery means wherever you have this IS retail solutions, right? When you activate IS retail solutions on your S4 system or your ECC system, and IS retail solution talks about article master, like your retail and fashion management, or all the retail goods. So there is a dedicated transaction code MM41. If you activate your IS retail solution, you will be creating the article using MM41T code. It's an extension to our retail specific flavor adding to your material master. Material master will create using MM01, but if you're creating an article, it will be MM41 is the T code. With this retail solutions, there are some retail related functionalities will get added. So this is already an existing one. Also, SAP, this Ethiopia, what they have done is, this particular article they brought into the governance scope, because there are many Walmart, there are some many organized customers are there who need this governance solution. So that's where, using this custom object framework, they developed this article master. So now SAP also, if you look at that SAP portfolio, so the catalog, they say that, okay, what are the out-of-box master data is there? In addition to these three, SAP now also say that article master is also there. So because SAP supports this. Similarly, EAM. EAM means it's a plant maintenance. Wherever you are, some organizations are there, like in gas, oil. So in those big organizations, so they use this plant maintenance. There are big plants are there, so they'll use the plant maintenance module. So in plant maintenance module, the important master data was like equipments, functional location, and you have something called bombs. There are something called task lists, object links, object networks. So all these things are covers under this EM solutions. Now the same Utopia, they also developed the solution using the same custom object framework and all these objects. Now, for example, in my organization, I wanted to govern equipment and functional location creation part. Then instead of either I can develop all those from scratch using this object, or else I can ready-made, I can use the existing out-of-box solution by taking the license from SAP or else from this particular person, Ethiopia. So we call these solutions as solution extensions, MDG solution extensions. So this partner extended the MDG by using custom object framework and they developed this one. So in the same way, even I can also develop my plant creation or employee master, any master data, whatever I feel, this is a master data, WBS element, these are the master data. I can, using this custom object framework, I can build my own master data. Okay, so now when it comes to MDG, we no need to learn, let's say, for example, in EAM or article master, if I'm working, I no need to learn that article master EAM. All I need to know is the MDG concepts. If I know the MDG concepts, functional and technical, I can apply the same concepts, whether it's a material master, BP or finance, or article or EM. Only you need that basic transaction codes, how to create an article. Okay, you go to MM41 and just understand the basic creation part. That's it. Or anyway, you will have your the functional consultant specific to this particular area. So you can take help from them and you can gain some little functional knowledge. But you no need to know what is the configuration behind article master, how to do the listing, or how to do some bombs, the bomb configurations. All those things I no need to know. Okay, because that is the responsibility of the respective functional consultant. If I learn MDG, I can apply the same concepts in any master data. Okay, so is this clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Thanks for that.
Okay, so now the reason I introduced this one is because in EAM, this particular people has done something related to cloud integration. What happens is, so they build some kind of interface to get the data from cloud, because there is a separate topic in EAM that is, let's say, for example, if I'm creating a material or equipment related to screw. So what dimensions it should have and everything will be maintained in the cloud centrally, and the same properties can be utilized by multiple customers. So they are SAP coming up with some kind of cloud concept so that they will maintain centrally all the dimensions, all the properties related to EM objects, and any customer who actually use this EM solution, they can download and they can actually use the properties while they're creating their own master data. Okay, so for that one, I say these guys come up with some kind of integration, cloud integration. Maybe I'm not sure MDI, which you are talking, there's something related to that, no?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it makes sense now, because IBP or Ariba, all this will be integrated. Maybe they have the standard out of the box integration for those.
That's true. That's true. Okay, but that is a kind of a small portion. It's an thing that if you are specifically working on that particular thing, but that is not, I mean, I would say maybe 1% or 2% in the complete MDG scope. That too, if you are specially working on those areas, maybe you can just learn that one. But otherwise, our overall MDG concepts are whatever I am showing over here. This is the complete MDG concepts.
Yeah, the fundamentals remain the same.
Yeah, so this remains same. There is no change in this one. I don't see in last 7 years there is no change. It's just added on year in every release. SAP adding some 10% of new innovations into this particular concept. But otherwise, the core thing not changed from 2015 till today. Okay, so as part of MDG, we will be learning out in this is the complete topics. In this topic, some of while let's say, for example, when you are discussing about process modeling, this process modeling is the core topic of your MDG, how your governance process should look like. When I'm creating a material, I will discuss with the business and we will come up with the governance approach, how it should look like. Okay, your workflows and whatever the derivations what are the mandatory information, at what step level I wanted to make it. Some of the steps, things are mandatory and some of the things are optional. So the complete governance related configuration will be there in process modeling topic. So it's a pure functional topic, and which is the core important topic of your MDG. Okay. And when it comes to this topic talks about your complete staging area. As part of MDG, what we are doing, SAP introduced the kind of staging concept. Okay, so what is that staging area, how it look like, what are the concepts, how I can create my own staging area, how I can extend the existing staging area for material master BP. So everything we will be discussing under this one. After that, how your UIs look like in MDG, FPM UIs or your Fury UIs, and how I can extend the standard UIs. Okay, SAP delivered out-of-box UI applications for material masters, business, all the masters, there are out-of-box UI applications are there. Similarly, how your MM01 is there for material master, so there is an UI application for material creation. Similarly, there is an application for material change. Similarly, there are UI applications are there for to perform the mass operations, file uploads, file downloads. So there are many UI applications are there. So we'll be discussing about the standard UI applications, how I can extend the standard UI applications, how I can build my own custom UI applications as well. So we will be discussing. These two are little technical in nature, but for functionals also, it's a good to know concept, because there are certain concepts are there. So those are purely for the functional can do on their own. Okay. After that, process modeling is completely the functional topic. And then you have something called data quality and such. Data quality is nothing but how you can actually perform some validations in MDG, how I can actually do some derivations. Let's say, for example, I'm creating a material. So in my organization, whenever I choose a finished product, all finished products should be extended to, there are certain default plants are there, default sales arcs are there. So the material, while creating the material itself, it should get extended to some 100 default plants. So then there are two ways. One is the person who is creating that material in MDG, he has to manually do that extension or maintain the plants. Otherwise, I can write some rule in MDG saying that when you are in your creation process itself, where automatically the derivation will happen. So I write some rule in the background, and that based on the rule, automatically we call it as a derivation, auto derivations. So you by default, your material will be extended to those 100 plants or whatever that you define. So likewise, we can write n number of business rules in MDG. So those business rules can be written in two ways, using ABAP approach, using some BRF application. So BRF application will be dedicated, SAP is given for the functional folks or business users, where without writing code, they can do that, they can define the rules. And for the ABAP, SAP has provided baddies. So both options are there. Similarly, how you can actually detect a duplicate in your system. When I'm creating a customer, based on the address, when I'm creating a new customer, it should automatically detect that, okay, so this customer is already available in the system with the address. So you need to configure the duplicate check criteria. How to configure the duplicate check criteria? For in my organization, the duplicate criteria might be address. Based on the address, I will say it's a duplicate record. In some other organization, they'll say that based on the bank data, it's a duplicate record. In some other organization, they say based on the probably tax related information. So likewise, every customer will have their own criteria. Okay, so so once you know that, once you define that criteria, how to configure that in the system is again a pure functional activity. It's just a configuration activity. Okay, so in data quality, I would say 50% technical and 50% functional topics will be there. Similarly, when it comes to the data quality, the data replication framework, this one deals that when you have multiple systems in the landscape. Okay, MDG is a one single centralized master data system where you create the master data. And once you create the master data, you will be distributing this master data to multiple target systems. So typical your MDG landscape will look like this. Okay, so this is my MDG as a centralized system. MDG. Of course, I have my underlying ECC or S4 component. Okay, but this is what my MDG system. So the master data will get created in this system. Once I create the master data, I will be replicating the data to multiple target systems. Some of them are SAP systems, some of them are non-SAP systems, because once I distribute the data to these respective systems, then only these are all my transactional systems. All these are my transactional systems. So, and also your MDG will receive some data from some external source system also. It's not like that all the time you create a master data in MDG. There might be in some organizations, there might be some other non-SAP systems where the master data gets created. So, but I will receive that data from all those source systems. And here I will run through all that governance process, and finally the records will be distributed to the target system. So being a centralized master data system, you need to deal with the source systems to receive your master data, and you need to deal with the target systems to replicate that, distribute the data to the target systems. So all that particular configuration we will be discussing in the data replication framework. Again, it's a 50-50. Some technical topics will be there, some functional topics will be there. Similarly, data import framework, how I can actually perform my initial loads into the system. On a regular basis, I will be receiving some bulk data. So how I can actually load the data into my MDG. So this also, data import framework also, there is a separate topic. And you have something called the key value mapping, is when I'm having source and target systems will have different keys. For the same material, my source system will have one material number, but when I get the data into my MDG system, I may not use the same material number. I will generate my material number using my own number range object. In that case, you are representing the same material with two different keys. So how you can actually map this source and target material, though those are the two different key numbers, key is there or material number is there, it represents the same system. So that's where you will have this key value mapping concepts. Again, it's a pure functional topic. Okay. And there is something called, this is a MDG technical related. What are the different APIs are there, classes and methods, some code samples, everything. Purely it's a technical related stuff, MDG APIs. Okay. Similarly, the roles, how the roles should look like. This is a security related. It's actually security team's responsibility, but we will also try to understand how the roles we can design in MDG. Okay. Consolidation, and this is master data consolidation. It talks about basically it's a one of the add-on component in MDG. It talks about how you can actually consolidate multiple data that is coming from multiple sources into one single record. Let's say, for example, I have this is one non-SAP system. This is a second non-SAP system. I have a material. That material I'm receiving from this system. The same material they created separately in this system also, I'm receiving the same material. So in MDG, I have two options. Either I can create two separate materials, which is a duplicate, or else I can club and I can consolidate and generate one single material in place of two materials. Okay, so that concept, consolidation, talks about how you can consolidate the data. In doing so, there are multiple processes are there in consolidation. You are standardizing the record, calculating the best record, performing some validations. So there are some step-by-step processes are there where we will be discussing in the consolidation topic. And after that, you have something called data quality management. So this DQM is, I would say that if you heard about information steward tool, where you will use this tool for data quality to you define certain rules in the information steward, and you apply those, run those rules in your existing master data, and it will detect, and if some of the rules are not as per that particular the rules define some of the materials, it will actually show that these are the faulty records. So the same concept SAP actually implemented, come up with this data quality management topic. And in DQM, basically we'll be dealing with how you can actually measure your data quality, how you can define certain business data quality rules. So all those we will be discussing in the DQM topic. Okay, so here we'll be discussing what is the architecture and what are the different components are there in MDG. So we'll be discussing, and the deployment options, like at very high level we discussed about hub and co-deployment, but in what scenarios we go for what options, that we will be discussing in detail. So this is a complete course related to, purely talks about MDG related stuff, whether it's a functional or a technical, but it slightly touches that wherever required, some of the SPRO configurations we will be doing. Okay.
Akshay, after completing this, how much additional we need to do to take up the certification?
Actually, the way, I mean, I covered all these topics are that it's completely the MDG concept. So even if you go to look at that certification, whatever the topics are there, so in the certification also you will have all these topics. Nothing, okay. It won't go out of this any of these topics.
So can you, whenever you're you're taking a particular topic, can you stress in between about this certification portion also, like what we need to focus on?
Sure, definitely.
Yeah,
Yep. Understood that one. Okay, even if you can actually look at the topics under the certification, right? They give some weightage to every topic. Okay, how much I will be getting the questions in under data model, right? So likewise, if you look at you compare this with that one, so this is keeping in mind that okay, after completing this course, you can give your certification. You can also directly get into an MDG. Only that the experience matters. Maybe initially you might be struggling in any MDG project, but after some time you will get familiar with all these things. Okay, you can actually get into an MDG project and start working on that one.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so any questions from anyone?
So what is the duration this is every Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah, it's on every Saturday and Sunday, and the time will be communicated, I think, by these the ZaranTech guys. So
it's a weekend batch, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
and when are we targeting, till when are we targeting to complete this?
Usually it will be like somewhere around between 40 to 45 hours, or sometimes it goes like, I mean, depends on the based on my experience with the different batches, right? Some people wanted to learn in detail, they'll have more questions. So that time actually what happens is it will get dragged. Okay. So that time the total hours, if you look at the duration, it can go up to 46, 47 hours as well. Okay, but it will be, I would say, in general, somewhere between 40 to 50 hours.
And per class would be around like
1.5 hours to 2 hours. I'll try to take up to 2 hours. But if you guys feel it's too much for that one, maybe we can give some logical end in that one. But somewhere around it will be 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So
I don't want
Saturday
a
and
rush.
Sunday in total, it will be somewhere around 3.5 hours to 4 hours.
Yeah, I don't want a rush over here. That's what, because I had a bad experience with other online sessions where people used to, just to cover up the time, they do the rushing.
Yeah, so there is absolutely there is no rush, especially my sessions, that you'll understand when we get into the other ones. So that's why most of my sessions will get dragged up. So most of my sessions will get dragged because myself, I'll get into more detailed one. So
I waited for almost 3 months for your session, Akshay. The last time when you started, due to some personal things, I had to drop out. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Happy to get back to you. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, great. If no questions, thank you all for registering this course. Okay, thanks for your time. Let's catch up in next session.
Thank you so much, Akshay. It was a great session. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a
Akshay.
great day. Bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.